Hi guys, welcome to section 4.4. Today you're going to learn about something called the discriminant. And the discriminant helps us to determine how many roots we are going to have in our quadratic before we actually look at any of our graphs. So when you have a parabola, what you should notice is that if it crosses the axis twice, that means you're going to have two x-intercepts. But sometimes your parabola, it'll come down, and it'll only touch it at one spot. It's going to touch the x-axis and go back up. That means you're only going to have one root or one x-intercept. And then the other option is it sometimes will come down and it won't even touch. It'll never cross the x-axis. So this means that you could have two x-intercepts or two roots. Here you have one real root, or you can have no real roots. Okay, so two roots, one roots, and no roots. Now, short of you graphing them all, there is another way that we can look at it that doesn't involve all of the graphing that you have that you would usually do. So if you remember your quadratic formula from yesterday, the part underneath the root sign is really the one that tells us how many roots we have. So it's this part right here, and that has a special name. We call it the discriminant, okay? And the discriminant is the b squared minus 4ac. So you don't even need the root sign, it's just the part underneath it. Okay, so let's use it and let's look at how many roots or intercepts our quadratics are going to have. Okay, this part up here, as you kind of read through on your own, it's just telling you that if it's a positive value, you're going to have two roots. If it actually is equal to 0, you're going to have one root. And if it's less than 0, you're going to have no roots. So we'll look at a few examples and then I'll tell you which one kind of matches where. All right, keep in mind, this right here is your a term. It's the one beside the x squared. The b term would be the one beside the x, and the c term would be the constant at the end. Make sure you are looking at the signs that go in front of the numbers as well. Okay, so if I want to look at the discriminant for our first example, and we've got our discriminant right here if we need to refer to it. So b squared is -3 squared minus 4ac. Oh. Hold on a second, let's fix that. Okay, I totally forgot I can actually use my my text option here. So this is what we're looking at. There's our discriminant. Let's substitute our values in for our discriminant here. So instead of b, I'm going to put -3 because my b value is -3. That almost worked nicely. There we go. So b squared minus 4ac, my a value, if you take a look at your quadratic, your equation over here, we've got -2. And then our c value is -5. Okay, and I'm just looking at the values with the signs in front of them. Okay, we're just going to simplify this now. -3 squared is +9. -3 times -3 is positive. And then we are going to minus 4 times -2 times -5. 5 times 2, -2 times -5 is +10. +10 times 4 is 40. So I'm going to subtract 40. Okay. And then, 9 minus 40 is -31. Okay. It is possible to have negatives here. Okay, now you have to remember that this negative would be the number that's underneath your root sign. We're not allowed to have negatives underneath the root sign, so here we would have no real roots. So in our discriminant, you're not going to have any roots, okay? So this has no roots, 0 roots. Okay, so this is an example where maybe your parabola, for whatever reason, maybe it's opening up and it goes above the x-axis. Or actually, we know this one is negative, so it's going to open downward. So it's going to be below our x-axis, and it's going to open down. Okay, so that's what this one here would look like. Let's get rid of this. Okay, let's look at the second one as another example. Okay, so again, we'll write these down again. There it is. My a is 2. My b, now there's no number here, but there is a negative. So my b value is going to be -1. And then my C value is -6. Okay, so C is -6. Okay, all right, so let's go through. Looking at my discriminant to figure out how many roots there are, I'm just going to substitute them in. Okay, b squared instead of b, I know that my b value is -1. Okay. My a value was 2, and my c value was -6. Okay, so -1 squared, just simplify now as best you can. -1 squared is +1. And then I need to minus 4 times 2 times 6. 6 times 4 is 24, times 2 is 48. So we're going to subtract -48. And lucky for us, when you subtract a negative number, you get a positive. So this is 1 plus 48, which is equal to 49. Now remember, this is underneath the root sign, so we would take the square root of 49, and then we would have in our quadratic formula, you know, -b plus or minus the square root of whatever this answer is. So because it is a positive number, we would be having 2 real roots, right? -b plus 49 and -b minus 49. So this gives us 2 real roots, two roots, okay? Oops. And then I'm sure you can figure out what's going to happen in the last one. We can do this one more time. We should end up with 1 real root, just taking a guess here. Oh, sorry, going back up to this one, just to show you. Our a value is positive, it's going to open up, so wherever our axes would be, we would have our parabola opening up and crossing at 1, 2 points on our x-axis to give us 2 roots. Okay, all right, and looking at the last one, you'll notice that my -25 is on the other side of the equal sign. I can't have that, so I have to make sure that when I use my discriminant, just like when I was using my quadratic formula, I have to have a 0 on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to bring the -25 over. When it becomes, when you bring it over to the other side, it'll become positive because you have to add 25 to both sides in order to cancel out the one on the right. Okay, so this will be x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. Now looking at this, a value is +1, b value -10, and c value +25. Okay, so we've got our a, b, and our c. I'm going to use the quadratic formula now, or the discriminant now, to figure out how many roots. Okay, there it is. My b squared, my b value, I'm going to plug in -10. My a value is +1, and my c value is 25. All right, -10 squared is +100. 4 times 1 times 25 is 100. 100 minus 100 is 0. Okay, so if you think about your quadratic formula, you would have a 0 under the root sign. So you would have b squared, -b plus or minus the square root of 0 all over 2a. Because this part is going to vanish, you're no longer going to have that, which means you would only end up with 1 answer. Okay, so here, this is an example where your parabola would come down, it would touch the x-axis only in one spot, wherever your y-axis might be, and you would end up with 1 real root. Okay, so this is 1 root. Okay. And there you go. You have used your discriminant to figure out whether or not you're going to have 1 root, 2 roots, or 3 roots. And that's it. All right, guys, have an excellent night, and we will see you for your next section.